Hey, what's up? What's up? It is Tuesday, April 8th, and we are finally done with state testing. That's why I've not been posting, because there hasn't been anything to post besides we state testing again. We're finally done. All right, so let's just get right into it. There are 8 days left of school until what? Spring break. So you see the dates for spring break. So again, there's 8 days left of school until spring break. There's really 10 days because we have a weekend in there. So just get that figured out in your brain. We got Tuesday through Friday, and then we got next Monday through Thursday, and bam, we on spring break. So it should be all to the good. I do want to say this: 6-week progress reports are on the 17th. That's the last day before spring break. So realize this, you got to get all of your work done. So I talked to most of the people who are behind. And a lot of people have been getting caught up, turning this in, turning that in. Keep doing that for all of your classes, because for some people, it's not just my class. That is the issue. So make sure you handle that business in the next 8 business days. And when we say business days, that means the school days. And if you have to use the weekend to get yourself caught up, because the last thing you want is to be behind and then boom, now this stuff's going to be sent to your parents. I'm just keeping it real, and they're alert. Now, some parents are already looking, but some parents aren't going to look until that progress report. You know that, and as soon as they get it, then it's going to be all bad for you. So make sure you handle your business so that once you go on to spring break, you just go on spring break and have your vacation. That's what I'm going to try and do. I'm not going to be trying grading on spring break. So pause the screen. Again, pause the screen here. Go ahead and get this written in. I need your suggestions. 3 for 8th graders and then 3 for teachers. All right, let's go. Handle the business. Bam. Did you pause the screen? Did you pause the screen to get that done? Yeah, handle that. Handle that. Handle this. Pause the screen and get this handled, okay? All right. So there was a lot of different suggestions that people gave. I won't go through all of them. However, if you are online, please leave your suggestions in the comments, right? Because I really actually do want suggestions, or you can send me an email directly. I'm like, because I really do want your suggestions, because I want to do better for the students for next year. And then what things could I improve, but then also what tips could I give the students? So that would also be helpful, especially since you just went through the state testing. Okay, now on to this thing. Go ahead and turn to page number 14. Again, page number 14. If you do not have one of these, make one of these. You should have one. If you don't have one, make one of these, and then I want you to answer this question. If this was a 1-question quiz, what can change the amount of potential energy in an object? If this was a 1-question quiz, could you answer it and do it well? Let's ask that. I'm not saying I'm going to give a 1-question quiz on Friday, but I might though. I'm not saying I am, but I might though. So let's just see what you got. Let's see what you come up with again. Pause the screen and then handle business. Okay. Did you answer the question here? Right here? Right here? Is this where you answered the question? Hopefully you put something in there. Let's just see. Did you put anything in there about gravity? That's a rare one that people answer, but sometimes they put about gravity. You see gravity in the formula for potential energy, so it's in there. Height, location of the object, the mass of the object, the amount of maybe like kinetic energy that's being applied to an object, that might actually change the potential energy of it. If you put any things in this realm of things, force being applied, that may also change the potential energy of an object. Any things in this realm would be helpful for this answer. So if you answered anything in those areas, then you probably did well. Okay, let's keep it pushing. We are moving on. Well, we're moving on, and we're not going to do this page. We're moving on. We're going right here to the CER. So I'm going to pause it, get the written version of the CER, and then we'll go from there. I forgot, before we get to the written version, why don't you read everything? And what I want you to do is come up with, find the question, because the CER, first thing we got to do is we do got to write the claim, but in order to write the claim first, we need a question. So find the question, underline that, highlight it, wherever you find it, write it down, and then write yourself a claim, and then I want you to go through the scenario and the external data and find evidence. So that's one of those things that if you know that's what you're looking for, be looking for those things as you're reading. So as you're reading, just underline it or highlight it, okay? So handle that business, and then I'm going to get us the written version so we can kind of walk through it just a little bit. All right. So did you get that read? If you haven't gotten it read, I'm like, pause it, turn to page 45 and handle the business, okay? Because I'm not going to go through everything. However, I am going to go through some things to make sure that you get started, okay? So first things first, hopefully you found the question. And it's right here in the prompt. It says, which lever positions would start the game with the most potential energy. And if you read the prompt, it says, write a scientific explanation that explains which lever position would start the game with the most potential energy. So your claim should sound something like this. And I'm not going to write the whole thing out. The lever position. And someone was trying to use other words. I said, just use the vocabulary that's already there. So, and I pulled that straight from right here, right? So the lever position that will what? Start the game, that will, we'll start the game with the most potential energy is, and you got to look at these lever positions right here, okay? Now, some people were like, oh, I can't really tell. So I'm like, I'm going to zoom in there, right? And if you look at this A, then it has that's all the springs right there. And then this lever position and the rubber stopper, right, or the rubber cap is right there next to where the ball is. If you look at B, it looks like it's pulled back about 25%. If you look at C, it looks like it's pulled back about 50%. And if you look at D, it looks like it's pulled back, I would guess around 80, 90%, somewhere close to there. It doesn't look like it's quite pulled back all the way, but I can't really tell because I'm not playing the game. But based on that, that's just telling you kind of like percentages. Again, this looks like about 0%. This looks like about 25%. And again, I'm just making some guesses based off what I see. This looks like about 50%. And this over here looks like pulled back about 80, 85%. That's what I would guess as far as how far the lever is being pulled back. Now, if you look at the question is asking about potential energy, right? So what is the definition of potential energy? Hopefully you're like, I know it, Mr. Farr. I know potential energy. And I'm going to write PE, potential energy, right, is equal to, hopefully you said something like stored energy. So hopefully you said something like that. That could be a piece of evidence. Also, we just looked at these levers right here. These lever positions, right? And again, I use the words that they used. So I'm just taking the vocabulary that was already inside of the question. This all should be evidence right here, okay? Cool. And then we're going to move forward. And students picked this up real quick after they read the scenario. They said, the farther you pull back the spring, the farther, right, the ball's going to go. Whoops, and I kind of lined through that. But then also the faster the ball's going to go. Now, the reason I put those as two different ones is because going far, like distance traveled, is different than going fast, right? Those are not the same. You can go fast without going far, right? So just know that those are two different pieces of evidence about pulling the spring back, okay? So let's keep it pushing on over here. How many pieces of evidence are we supposed to have? Hopefully you're like 3. 3 pieces of evidence. I'm like, yes, cool. We cooling right now. We're good. Okay. Then let's go down here to the reasoning, and I want you to pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. This is where people lose most of their points, okay? Is in the reasoning, and it's because they don't write a whole paragraph. I'm just going to keep it 100. So at the very first sentence should be an introduction sentence, right? An intro. And inside the intro should be 2 things, claim, and then, claim and question. So claim and question, that should be in your first sentence, okay? Then your next 3 sentences should be 3 evidence sentences, okay? So something about 3 evidence sentences, that's what should be there, right? And remember this about, and I'm just going to abbreviate that, about evidence. The evidence should support the claim, okay? It should be holding up the claim. So you have to connect the evidence to the claim. It should be supporting it. And the last thing that you should have is some sort of conclusion sentence, okay? So some sort of conclusion sentence. Usually it restates what? Hopefully you said this. It restates why your claim is true. Okay? So that is really how that should work. This is where people lose the most amount of points because they write 1 or 2 sentences. 1 sentence is worth about 2 points. This section is worth 11 points. It's worth about 33%, or not 33, but 30%, roughly 30% of the actual grade. So if you only write 1 sentence or you write 2 sentences, you're going to get somewhere between 1 to 4 points. That's why your grade's going to be so low. So make sure to write a 5-sentence paragraph, okay? Again, if you need to write that down, write it down. 5-sentence reasoning paragraph, okay? So 5-sentence paragraph. That's what it needs to be. So understand that. Okay, other than that, that's it for what I got for you guys for today. Make sure to get that turned in, and the final draft is going to be due tomorrow. I will not be here tomorrow. There will be an ed puzzle, and then a really short one with me, be the video lesson, and then there will be just this to write the final draft. This is due, or type up the final draft, and that will be due tomorrow. All right, y'all. Peace.